Get out of the way.
We are recording.
Hear that, Scott? That's not fair. So everybody knows Ed is on the phone, and I'm allowing him to yell when he wants to speak. If you guys want to, so we can keep this clean, if you want to say something, you could raise your hand in front of the camera, or you can use the raise hand under participants or the reactions here. There's a reaction at the bottom of the screen. There's a hand waving. You could use that. Any way you want to get my attention. And we are recording this. It'll go on to the Easthampton Media website. The minutes are in process, so we're going to skip that for now. And we have no one from the public here. Jamie, do you have anything beyond, before we get to the account balances?
No, I do not.
Okay, I'm going to put the account balances up if I can find them. They're not there. Give me a second, I'll try to get them up. Oh, there's Andy. All right, we had met Andy. So everybody see these account balances? If anybody has any questions, the $25,000 that we approved for the historic inventory was approved last night, and also the Historic Commission did get their $12,500 match from the Massachusetts Commission, so that's a good thing. So we're actually only spending $12,500, but that's the only change from last month. And I don't think, do you have that in here, Jamie? I don't know if you have that in here.
I'm sorry, the match?
The 25,000, I didn't know if you put it in. Does everybody see my shared screen here?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So the historic structure inventory is on the at the bottom of the first table.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll see when it's put in the open project balances, it's put in as 12,500 CPA and 12,500 matching.
Will they have to spend the 25 before they get the 12.5? Is that how that works?
Correct. It's reimbursement at the end of the grant.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on open balances? No? Okay. Ed, do you have any questions?
Good.
Andy? Andy, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Sorry, I had to unmute.
Are you on video or are you, because your video isn't showing?
I know, I got to start my video. I'll start it.
Okay, good enough.
I'm good. I'm in now.
All right. So now we're going to move to the city clerk records management survey. I do have that agreement. Barbara, have you seen this?
I did not see it, no.
This is a standard boilerplate project agreement.
Okay.
We all talked to the gentleman, what's his name? The person who's doing the work, the company, I mean, Barb?
King Information Systems. Yep.
Does anybody have any questions of Barbara on this? We did have a lot of discussion last meeting, and this is what we came up with for a project agreement. You think this work can get done by April 15th, 2021, or do you need a?
That's a whole year. Oh yeah, I hope so.
Okay. Well, you could come back for an extension.
Okay.
By the way, I want to vote and approve these appropriations this evening, but I will ask Jamie not to bring them to the city council's attention till July, mainly because the council and the mayor were dealing with heavy budget items in May.
Mhm.
So I don't know what that does for everybody's timing, but that's what's going to happen. We're going to wait until July to submit them to the city council.
Would that affect the timeline at all? Because if you're not even going to submit it till July, should that be changed to like the July date?
Why don't we do that? What's going to happen is we're going to have these agreements, and then when we can sign them, before they go to council, we'll have to sign the agreement. Why don't we, Jamie, change the date to July of 2021, since that's when it's going to go to the council.
Okay. I will make that change after the meeting, and then I'll send it back to you and Barbara to sign.
Can we do DocuSign for that?
Mhm.
I don't know how to. Do you know how to do that, Jamie?
No idea.
You
I don't think that I.
You can send it to me and I'll do it. I can send it.
Okay.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions on this record management survey? We talked about it last meeting. I'd like to move it tonight unless anybody has a question. Nobody? Raise your hand. No questions, huh? Can I have a, go ahead, Greg.
I'm good with it. We had a good discussion last time.
Okay. Ed, do you have any questions?
Nothing here.
Okay. All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve 9,900
I
for
move.
Seconded.
the records management survey. Motion's been made by Greg and seconded by Ed. Any further discussion? We have to take a roll call for all votes according to the new open meeting law, and Jamie will take the roll.
I'm going to unmute everyone. You can just say your vote as I call your name. Andy Hunter.
Yeah, I'm in favor or whatever. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Dan Rist.
Yes.
Ed Swinicky.
Yes.
Greg.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jessica.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Harry is absent. Chris is absent. And Scott.
Yeah.
Great. The motion passes. Vote of 8 in
Thank you.
favor and none
Don't
against.
want to stay for the whole meeting. You're all done, but nobody had any questions. The next thing is Old Town Hall.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you very much. Burns Maxey is here. I want to put up this document that I put today together. It's revised from February. We did speak to, Jamie and I both spoke to Val, our auditor, and she did agree that there had to be another vote of the city council to move the money out of this account into a construction account. But also, she felt that Jamie's idea of having a project agreement would protect the city if people changed, staff changes at the city level or in city space, that to guarantee that everybody was aware that when construction was going to begin, this project had, the city space would have to come back for the application that they've already put in would be resubmitted at that time, and I assume for the 3 million total. When we vote this tonight, I'm going to put up a motion that votes not only to approve the $500,000 into this new account, but also to reconfirm our commitment of $3 million, both of which I hope will help city space with grants and any funding sources they can get. The budget, when it's approved, will establish the account. In the budget, if you recall, we have $250,000 coming out of the 2021 fiscal year budget. So this, when it's approved in July by the city council or in August, would make that account retained at $750,000. So if you've read all this, does anybody have any questions, or Burns, do you want to say anything about this?
No, it looks good to me. I went through the documents, and it all makes sense in moving forward. We have, as you know, just to give you a bit of an update, because of the COVID-19, our tenants' rents are frozen right now. They're not paying rent because they can't use the building, but we are busily working behind the scenes to continue the capital campaign. We have many of our funders who have come forward with commitments and reestablished those commitments. So we're feeling very positive with that. Obviously, things might move a little bit slower than we expected, but otherwise, we've heard nothing but positive feedback from those that have already committed, and people continue to be excited about the project and looking hopeful for the future to use the space.
This is the project funding agreement. Does everybody see it on their screens? Yes, everybody sees it.
No, I don't see it.
No.
Your Skype or Zoom window is in front of it, Dan.
Okay, let me try it again. Does that help? Do you
Yes.
see it now?
That works, yep.
This is the actual agreement. So when we appropriate the funds, City Space will sign this, and I'll sign it. And as you can see, JB's written this up, and it's very good. It establishes that there will be another vote of the City Council and a vote of the CPA Committee to move the money into a construction account. All of our projects establish a project account when they are approved. This is different. It's retained earnings. So does anybody have any questions? I'm going to take this down for the moment so I can see your hands raised.
I have a question, Dan.
Yeah, Jeff.
So it says that this is for just this round, so the 500. So two questions. One, the 250 that you were talking about that would also be appropriated in come July, does that need some sort of paperwork associated with it? And then I just want to make sure that the applicant's aware that this is going to have something that has to happen every year.
I think, Jamie, we can redo this. This is why we're meeting tonight. And I think a line should be put in is a savings account for this amount and any other amounts that are put into this account. Would that satisfy everybody? Up at the top, project account is a savings account for the construction project. The funds in the account. We have to write something in there, Jamie. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, so the idea was that this would be the sort of the project funding agreement for this account, and that there'd be multiple sort of additions to that account, but that this agreement would cover the $250,000 that's being put in there by the budget, FY21 budget, and this $500,000 and the next bunch of projects. So we don't have to keep going back to create a project funding agreement every time.
Don't we need a line though that says that?
Yeah, so I agree. We should say that.
Well,
so,
I respect that you'll be able to do that. Burns?
Well, I want to reiterate Jess's question. Would we have to say July? What would the process be for us to add additional funds?
No, what we're saying is, well, yeah, you could come back to us for additional appropriation funding, but we can ourselves as a committee, like next year, if we want to add more money, we can just do that. And that might happen in the budget process next year.
So can I recommend then that the language that says, it says total CPA funded, or total CPA funds granted, parentheses, this round?
Mm-hmm.
It's that wording of this round that to me makes it confusing, because to me that means that it's only for this fiscal year that this is associated with. If we want to keep adding money to this account, to me that's a juxtaposition of being able to do that by having the language that says this round.
maybe I'm the only one getting in the weeds on it, but it just.
No, I think that's an excellent point. I agree. We should eliminate that. So we're going to eliminate that. And do we need to add a line that says future funding into this account? This agreement covers future funds placed into this account.
Something like that. I think it just needs to be clearer. So if there is transition of staff or leadership or volunteers, that it's not saying that it's only $500,000 this one time. If the intent is to use this multiple times over the course of 5 years to add money, and then we should make that clear somewhere.
Okay. So I'll just ask Jamie to add that. Okay, Jamie, I add a line that indicates that this is all future funding into this account will be subject to this agreement. Something like that. Does that satisfy everybody? Anybody else have a question?
So does that mean that in the future meetings that the CPA, if they put additional funds into this account, say in July, or additional meetings, that we would not have to sign an applicant form such as this would be enough?
I don't think so, because in the past we've earmarked money for this, and we did the budget this year. We established the account in the budget. So I think it would be up to us to do that. And the purpose is to reduce the amount of bonding we might have. So that was the goal. So next year, when we look at the budget, for instance, we'd get it up to $1 million, which would be my goal. That'd be great. I don't know where we'll be in 2022's fiscal year, but that would be good. Because according to the timeline, which may change now, God help us, the bonding can happen after the final school bond in 2022. So that's where we are with that. So Burns, to answer your question, no, I don't think you need to do that.
I want to say though that if for whatever reason, this world that we're living in right now, everything is so uncertain, that I think that City Space should be aware that this grant expires on December 31st, 2022. So if an extension is ever needed, that there's a possibility to do that if it needs to happen.
Well, yeah, and that's typical of all of our agreements. We have a deadline on them, and I think that's fair. And it's also important that to sell this to the city council, it's important for them to know that it takes another vote to actually put this into construction, and that this money is not leaving the CPA account. It's gaining interest at the bank. It's really an accounting measure that was recommended by Valerie to, reduce bonding and to put money aside. And we all felt that this money does not impact other projects, and we all still feel that, right? Because this will be $750 once the budget's passed and this is put in. But there's still a lot of money in the accounts for other projects. I know we're going to get some from the park, for instance, but I think we'll be okay.
Why is the date December 31st, 2022 the selected date?
We needed to put something in there, otherwise it's open-ended and the CPA will not have any ability in the future to close that account. It doesn't have to be December 31st, 2022. It could be a different date. We could make it, further along in the future. And that's up to the committee to decide what that date should be.
So Chris, you thought the meeting was 6:30 and it actually is 6. So you're joining us in a discussion for Old Town Hall.
Oh, Lord. Sorry about that, guys. I thought it was 6:30.
Well, I obviously tried to change it just to make it a little better for our dinner hour. But all future Zoom meetings will be 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other discussion on this? I think we could approve this tonight, the supplemental appropriation. The other reason, Burns, that I didn't want to do it until July was because let's assume it gets to the council in July and it's moved to finance. In August, we would have a public hearing on it. I'm hopeful we're in chambers so your entire City Space group can be there. Because I think it's going to need some sale. It may need to be sold to city council, although I'm optimistic about it. But that's the reason I wanted. The other reason was because I wanted to see if we could get everybody. If it's a Zoom meeting, we'll get everybody to speak at the Zoom meeting too. We had a public hearing last night and we had a lot of people, so it was okay.
So this requires another vote from council, even though it's not really appropriating. It's just like shifting. It's just like an accounting thing.
I asked Val the same thing, but she considers it. I said, isn't it a transfer? She said, no,
right.
It's a supplemental appropriation. She wants a vote. And frankly, I like it because when you see my motion, which I'm going to put up for all of you, that motion is a commitment of $3 million. And I want the council to know that we are committing as a council. I want them to say, we commit this, we agree to the CPA's commitment of $3 million. I think I need to get that done. That's just my opinion.
Do you need that, Vern? Is that better for you to have a city council commitment with the 3 million? That helps with your fundraising?
Absolutely, yes. Every level of commitment makes a big difference with our funders. I am, that 2022 date that is a little confusing to me right now, just because in thinking about the timeline, I'm wondering if that makes sense.
When you apply for construction, let's say it's in October of 22, we can also extend the account agreement. I mean, it's a simple request for you to extend it because you haven't started construction. If you begin construction, say in October, we move all that money into a construction account, so it's gone anyway. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I'll just add it to my calendar to make sure that it's on there.
Don't forget.
I won't forget.
We're doing this so that if you happen to leave town, somebody else knows about it.
Oh, I'm not leaving town.
This is good news.
No, we have not changed our timeline yet. And like I said, I do think it will take longer because of our current scenario and situation. However, I am hopeful that it won't take as long as we might think it will. So it's not that 2022 date it's too long, far away. I just am thinking about conversations that the city has had about the $3 million as a whole. And if bonding was not available, after or by that time, if it would be an issue.
I also feel since it's our account, we could extend the deadline as a CPA. I mean, I don't see why our committee can't do it too. If, for instance, the bonding isn't there. Scott, unmute yourself. Scott? Okay.
Yep, sorry, I just had to figure out how to unmute myself. I apologize, I wasn't at the last meeting, so it's a little bit catch up for me, but I just wanted to clarify how this affects what we were doing before, which it's like when we had our budget, we would take out $200,000, and we've done that a couple times. And is this in place of that, like basically making this a 500,000 instead of 200,000?
Right, we're moving in the 400,000 we've earmarked. An earmark is not a real thing. It doesn't really establish a line. An account line like this establishes it and saves it. It can't be used. We can't move it out of this account without a vote of the CPA and a vote of the council. Whereas an earmark, we can just move it any time. And we added 100,000 more than the 400 we already saved. It's around.
Oh, so this 500,000 includes the 400,000.
Yes, yes.
I didn't understand that. Okay.
And the
that makes this feel a little less dramatic to me. I thought this was $500,000 more now.
No, that 400,000. We're just basically doing an accounting thing, but we're making it more of a commitment in a sense, and making it more difficult to move it out. The council has to approve moving it out now, not just us.
Okay.
Because in the past, we could have taken that earmark money and decided to move it into a project if we wanted to.
And I mean, just playing devil's advocate here, like what, so, because I feel like when we had talked about it before, and again, I speak from a place of being in support of this project, but I know when we had talked about it before, there was a feeling like, well, you know, depending on what happens, like we're putting it aside, we all feel like we want it to be there, why not retain that flexibility? And so what like, there's a benefit, and maybe this is a question to you, Burns, is there actually like a added benefit in your applying for additional money? Is that like the impetus for doing it?
Yes, absolutely. So there's been several times within our city government and even within the CPA where there has been, you know, a notation of those that have made commitments that are our donors towards the project are only commitments. So the more level of solidification of a commitment that you have, the more likely another donor is to come in and say, yes, this makes a difference, whether it's on the state level or whether it's an individual donor.
Got it. So this added level of saying like it's been formally voted on, that's going to help you. And I mean, and if, again, I don't anticipate this, nor do I want this, if everything falls apart, the city council we could vote to then take it back. The city council would vote to then take it back, and it would be fine. Correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for needing that clarification.
Well, we're just catching up with what we started this whole process with the thought that we might bond now, but we can't bond. But this was something Valerie said we could do. And it does show, because it's a council vote too, besides us, it does give a very much bigger level of commitment to the people that might want to donate to this project, or the grants people, which was the City Space's request. Let's do something that helps us with grants, and this is why we're doing it too. But it also commits the committee to this. If the committee changes, if people come in that are new, all right? Chris, by the way, I forgot to tell everybody, Chris is the Harry Schumann representative. He's been asked to join because Harry's stuck in Florida. He was voted in by the planning department. So thank you, Chris, for joining us.
Well,
I don't have, you're still muted. You have any questions, Chris? Catching up.
Yep, no, I'm happy to be here to represent the planning board. I'm sorry I'm late. I screwed that up. I apologize.
But you don't have any questions on this Old Town Hall project then?
No, I read all the docs ahead of time, so I understand what's going on. So yeah, no questions yet.
Well, if we have no other questions, I will share a motion which I wrote, which I'd like someone to read, if it's okay. Who wants to make this motion?
Make a motion in order to reinforce the CPA commitment to a $3 million matching grant to the Old Town Hall second floor project. I move to appropriate $500,000 to the Old Town Hall second floor construction retained city match account using $200,000 from historic preservation earmarks and $300,000 from the undesignated fund earmark end account.
I need a second.
I can second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to appropriate $500,000 to the new Old Town Hall second floor construction retained city match. Do we have further discussion? Hearing none. Jamie, you need to take a roll call, please.
Okay, I'm going to unmute everyone. If you can see. Andy.
Andy's still muted.
I'm good, yes.
Dan.
Me? Yes.
Ed.
Good.
Greg.
Yes.
Jay.
Aye.
Jessica.
Yes.
John.
Aye.
Chris.
Yes.
And Scott.
yes.
Okay, motion passes by a vote of 9 in favor and none against.
That's true. We have 9 members here. Thank you all. Burns, I hope this helps you. It will go before the city council. As I said, I don't want to send it till July. I'm hopeful then by August, you'll be able to come before the council in chambers, but we don't know what's going to happen. So thank you very much. We're
Thank
going to move.
you. I trust Jamie or you will tell me the date when we have that.
And Jamie will amend the project funding agreement and send it out and copy that to everybody, Jamie, so they know the new language. We're removing that first round language and adding a line that this is for this agreement is for all funds that will be placed into this account. Okay? We'll get.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Last thing we want to talk about this evening is emergency rental assistance discussion, and I'm going to turn it over to Jamie. She has some information, and then we have a plan on what we might want to do for the emergency rental and mortgage assistance program. We might want to. Do we want to wait for Jess? Jess had to go to deal with her kids. We're waiting for you, Jess. Okay.
Sorry, I had to make sure that the husband took the dinner out of the oven so it didn't burn.
Yes, if we saw smoke, that would be bad. Okay.
Okay, so I've been asked to look into emergency rental assistance using CPA funds in light of the COVID-19 situation. A lot of people potentially are going to be having trouble paying rent, and as this goes on for who knows how long. So I did some preliminary research and I'm just going to talk about it, and then, like Dan said, we'll either take a vote or continue it to another meeting. So basically, there are a number of different organizations that are looking at rental assistance, and we can use, so the bottom line is we can use CPA funds to fund a rental assistance program, and that would complement other funds. The CARES Act passed by the federal government gives the Community Development Block Grant program money for this type of rental assistance and foreclosure preventions and things like that as well. So this money, the CPA funded rental assistance program would complement the CDBG program. There are a number of issues that come up with using CPA funds and things that would need to be worked out. So Dan and I previously discussed forming a subcommittee of the CPA committee and the housing partnership to work on developing an RFP that could then be put out to local partners to help manage that program.
I just want to interject. That's the biggest question. Managing the program would require someone to look at qualifications, where they're living, because we can restrict it to Easthampton landlords. That's one thing we could do. Jamie looked into that. I was concerned that we had to allow.
Right, and so according to the federal government's relocation, I don't know the exact where it comes from, but it's one of the relocation acts. Any funding over 12 months is considered permanent, and a permanent assistance, we can't discriminate based on where people live. So we would have to do a short-term program in order to not get caught up in federal regulations about long-term funding or permanent funding. Partly, I think that's related to the fact that there are other rental programs, and I'm not as well versed in them, that would apply. The funds would be paid directly to landlords, and obviously we'd want to structure it in such a way that it would be for people who are living in properties in Easthampton. But I think the long-term funding would be that if someone who wasn't currently living in Easthampton wanted to move to Easthampton, would we be able to fund them, or would we not be allowed to fund them? And these are, again, goes to development of the RFP, and how we structure that program would sort of influence how we deal with different applicants throughout different situations of where applicants are coming from.
So the key here is management. We could manage it on our own, but that would require us having a staff member do all the work. And I like the notion of putting out an RFP, and whatever money we put aside for this. Jamie mentioned, who was it, Valley? Somebody would be managing the program, and we would do the RFP based on a lot of these factors. We hope to get this done soon if we want it to work. So the idea of the subcommittee would be that we could meet next week and only talk about this, what we want in an RFP. That is, if this committee wants to pursue this. That's the first question I'll have for this evening. Do we want to pursue this? And there's a lot of people at the council level that would love to see CPA help with this. And I had hoped to see Kate from housing here, but I think the housing people would love to have us do some help with this. And I know, Greg, you were interested in it. So I'm kind of hoping we can do something. But management of it is the big question. So we would have to spend some money. Let's say we put $300,000 into an account for this. It might cost us $50,000 to have a company manage it, whatever that person is. So I don't know, we want to get that RFP out so we can get this done in a timely fashion so that it actually helps in this emergency. Originally, I didn't think we could do that, but apparently we can. We can get it done quickly, quickly being 2 months maybe. I don't know how long it would take.
Well, I think, sorry to interrupt. I think the timeline, I think, is an important piece about this too, because the CPA process, by the time it's City Council approves it, and then only after City Council approves the funds can we go out to RFP. And based on previous programs that the city's run, there are really 2 or 3 organizations in the region right now that typically manage these types of programs. You mentioned one, Valley CDC, another is Wayfinders, potentially one of the planning commissions like Pioneer Valley Planning Commission or the Hilltown CDC. There are not that many organizations out there that typically do these things, and they are getting a lot of inquiries about managing these programs. So that they may have issues responding to an RFP or taking on the added work. So it is, we'll have to, part of the subcommittee's role would have to be to also reach out to these organizations and see if there's any interest on their parts.
So what I would like to do tonight is vote to, do we want to pursue this, number 1. Number 2, I'd like to invite some of the members to a subcommittee. It would be 4 members. We can't have 5 because that's a quorum of the whole committee. The 4 members would do some research and only speak to it. Next week, we could have a meeting of the subcommittee to talk about it. Anybody that's interested in this, so that we could look into the RFP. How much do we want to put into this account? Then we would have a special meeting of the CPA in 2 weeks. The purpose would be to get this to the city council. If we're going to do it, get an appropriation to the city council with an RFP attached so that we could get it approved, say, second meeting in May, and get it going, obviously, so we could actually impact this year. So I open the floor to everybody. What do you think? Somebody raise their hand. Nobody's saying anything. Craig, how does this feel for you? Craig, go ahead.
Yeah, this is, I have to admit, housing is my weakest area of all of them here. So I'm just going to lay that out as a caveat. But I was early in suggesting that maybe CPA dollars could be used for emergency housing assistance. What was likely to be a prolonged economic impact. So I am in favor of us doing something. I sort of had it in my mind that there was going to be an applicant who might be, willing to come forward and apply for funds and manage the program. So I was operating under sort of slightly different model, I guess, for how this would work. But in concept, I think it's a good idea. I have the CPA, the accountant CPA in me is curious about the what the duration and the level of grants and what size program is adequate or that we would want to consider.
Well, that's what I would like the subcommittee to deal with.
Yeah.
And the subcommittee would meet with the housing authority. The people there could help us. Maybe they know of an applicant that could do this rather than doing an RFP. But the management of this is the key. We can't put it on Jamie and the city right now. We have to have someone manage this program. So that's where we are. I'd like to personally move forward with this. Whether it comes to fruition is, who knows. But if we can help, we should try to help. That's my opinion. Anybody else have something? John?
Yeah, I definitely support the idea of coming to aid in the time of need. I guess the one thing that occurs to me that I would hope we would be able to integrate is, as you say, since some portion of that money would go to the manager or the management, is there some way to have a caveat so that it's more, I guess the word I'm looking for is reactive to people coming forward? I guess the thing that concerns me is, could we end up spending more money on the manager than we give out to people in need? And
yeah, obviously part of that has to be advertising. That's a good point. These are the kinds of questions that I want the committee to dwell on, the subcommittee. And I'm going to ask, are there people that might be interested in being on that committee? I'll be on it with Jamie. Jessica, how about you? You've done some stuff like this.
Yeah, the problem is that this could be a major conflict of interest for me professionally. And so as much as I would love to participate, and I have a lot of opinions about this topic, even given that we are in this COVID crisis, but rental assistance is something that we should have been talking about a long time ago. And I think the Housing Partnership did talk about it years ago. It's just not something that is happening now. There are people that have constantly needed rental assistance. So pushing that soapbox aside, I think I can't right now until a couple things shake out. Of the 4 entities that Jamie mentioned, I'm closely aligned with 2 of them. And I think professionally, it would just not be good for me to participate, unfortunately, on this topic.
That's too bad, because you have a lot of knowledge. I don't know if it helps, but.
Could you participate in an advisory capacity, Jess?
I don't know. I mean, I
was about to say the conflict of interest thing is removed because we passed a lot of committees. All the committees are now called special employees, in that, you know how we had our lawyer, what was his name?
Yeah, that I believe that was when the firm. So in the case of
the firm was representing somebody.
The firm was representing things separate from the CPA. But in this case, and Jess, you can speak to your conflict or if you want. But I believe that it's much more closely related than that. And we can ask if you are interested, Jessica. We can go through the process of declaring your conflict and seeing if the mayor agrees, and
Dan, if you don't mind, if we could take this offline and maybe after the meeting, we can have a phone call and I can talk to you a little bit more detail about the potential conflict, and then we can take it from there.
Sure. I just love your knowledge on this. But
Believe me, it's
sounds like that
something I'm
won't happen.
passionate about, and I would love to participate, but I just don't want to get the city in trouble, and I don't want to get myself in trouble. All
You know more about it than I do. Okay.
right, so after the meeting, let's chat.
Can I ask for 3 other members who might want to be involved in this? We're going to meet next Thursday, come up with this, and maybe do some research in the meantime.
I'd rather pass. It's not really an area that I'm really familiar with.
Greg, are you interested in just hashing out an RFP?
Yeah, I am. And my connection keeps going in and out, so I apologize if I didn't catch everything. Yeah, I'm interested, Dan. The trouble for me is I'm overcommitted in a lot of areas, and I'm still struggling to keep up with everything. The financial landscape is ever changing, and as a financial person, I'm just like backlogged, but I will be on the subcommittee and participate in whatever way I can.
Okay. Anybody else? I need a volunteer. How about you, Scott? I'm looking at you. I don't want to assign somebody. I want somebody to want to do it.
I'm humbled by what Greg just said, because he just said, "Oh, I don't have enough bandwidth, but I'll do it anyway," which is tough to say. Then follow up with, "Oh yeah, I'm really busy, but then I can't do it." Right? Thanks, Greg.
Yes. Scott?
So yeah. I mean, as you can see, my daughter popped in the screen there for a while. So, I'm definitely juggling a lot of. I feel like I'm getting a C on everything right now. So if you're okay with a C performance on that, that'd be fine.
Your C performance is better than most. Anybody else? One more member. Okay. Thanks. Then John, Greg, Scott, and I will talk about it next week, Thursday. I'll try to do Thursday for a Zoom meeting to just hash it out. And Jamie has some information by then.
If you don't mind, I actually have a meeting next Thursday evening. So why don't we put out I'll put out a poll to see what works for people.
All right, it can't be Wednesday. I have a finance meeting, so it could be. I wanted to give you enough time to maybe check with those groups you mentioned, and also to contact the housing authority. Doesn't have to be during the week. It could be any time.
Right, I mean, we could meet during the day if people are available.
Or people are dealing with their children. What time is your meeting Thursday?
It's at 6 o'clock.
Could we?
It's actually the housing partnership meeting, and I know that this is something that they were interested in discussing, but they'll need to discuss it.
Maybe we could come in after the meeting and be on their meeting, and then we would join at a certain time.
Why don't you go to the housing partnership meeting and be on their agenda, and then you can have a big old discussion about it. Because I think somebody's got to be taking the lead, not the CPA, I think, on putting the RFP together, whereas putting the RFP together themselves. So
that's a great idea.
Makes sense to just sit on their meeting and have the conversation there.
Why don't we ask them if we could be on the agenda? Then Greg, Scott, and I will be at that housing partnership meeting next Thursday. Are you setting that up, Jamie? It's a planning department Zoom meeting.
Yeah, so Jenna, the chair of the housing partnership, is setting up the meeting. Has already submitted the agenda to Barbara, but it can be amended. And I believe that there's already a discussion item on there about the rental assistance program. So we wouldn't need to actually. This would fall under their already existing agenda item.
If someone, you have John's phone, someone to me, I'll call her.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? But
I was asking Jess, maybe Jess had John's phone number. Anybody have the? Hello? People hear me? Nobody has John's. I have Jackie's phone number. I can call her. Okay. I just
I'm
want
sorry,
to connect.
you wanted, I do have Jana's phone number.
I have Jana if you need me to.
I must be feeding back. I don't know why. Okay, we'll do that. But just a poll. I don't necessarily need a vote. Is everybody in favor of us pursuing this? Is anybody against it? So raise your hand if you're okay with it. You're okay with moving forward with this? Scott, are you okay? Ed, are you okay moving forward? Ed?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move forward. We'll meet with the Housing Partnership, and I like the idea, Jess, of them doing the RFP. And Jess, is there a time tomorrow I could call you?
Yeah, I'm here all day.
You're much more busy than I am, so just tell me when's a good time.
I mean, we can talk right now after the meeting if you want.
I would rather not, if it's okay.
Okay, just call me tomorrow or text me and then I'll call you back.
Okay, good enough. All right, everybody, that's all I have for this evening, unless anybody else has anything else. We've done some work. We will have a special meeting on this in 2 weeks, because I want to try and get it done before May. So look for that meeting time. It'll be a full CPA meeting. We'll decide how much money we want to put into it. If we want to do it, we'll look at an RFP and we'll try to move it forward. For that.
One more thing.
Yeah, great.
Again, my connection was really bad, so I don't know if you put a plug in for this or not, but Jamie sent out that
Thank you. Yes.
22nd, and I think it's especially for people on the subcommittee, but just in general, if we're going to take seriously doing something like this, I know I'm going to try to make that because I know next to nothing about this.
Jamie?
Yes. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, I meant to mention that, but I sent out an email earlier today for the Mass Housing Partnership is putting on how to run a rental assistance program, best practices, next Wednesday, April 22nd at 10:30 in the morning. So if you are interested in learning about this, please go to that email, click on the link to register. And
we're losing you. I didn't.
The email I sent out earlier this week, earlier today with the how to run a rental assistance program. As Greg said, it's being run by Mass Housing Partnership. So please register if you are interested.
So what do? You register and then you get to participate or get to watch a virtual presentation? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's going to be a webinar of them explaining.
Never done a webinar. I guess I'm out of it.
Yeah, it's basically this, but I don't think everyone gets to talk.
Okay, that'll be very interesting. So we should look at that, Scott, you and Greg especially, but everybody should look at it, see if we're interested in helping. All right? Thank you all. I'll take a motion to adjourn unless there's anything else.
Motion to adjourn.
We'll move.
All in favor? Apparently we have to do a roll call for everything. Peg Connor found out today that even our simplest things we have to do.
All right, so Andy.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Ed.
Yes.
Greg.
Greg?
Everything cut out. What are we voting on? Adjourning?
Yes.
Yes.
Out of here.
Jay.
Yes.
Jess.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
John.
Jessica has to get to the oven.
Harry.
I got wine to drink, people.
Sorry, Chris.
Scott does too.
Yes.
And Scott.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Ed, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. And I'll be in touch with the subcommittee. We'll try to get a meeting with the Housing Partnership. Thank you all.
Bye.
Good night.
Jamie,
Thank
you'll take the recording and move it to